and welcome to PGurus channel. I'm your host Sri Iyer. Is there a conscious attempt to damage the image of India, especially with respect to how women are treated in India? This is the topic that we're going to discuss today. And to talk about this, we have Professor R. Vaidyanathan. Professor RV, welcome to PGurus channel.
Yes, thank you very much. And I thought you will do the customary request to the audience to subscribe to the PGurus channel because it would facilitate them to have it in their regular box, right?
This time I thought I'll let you do it, sir, but
Yeah, the reason is I think it is important that channels like this, which are comparatively, not controlled by any big business group or political spectrum, I think should reach a much larger audience, according to me, right?
yes, indeed. And dear viewers, your clicking on the subscription button helps us in more than one way. One is that the more subscribers that get accrued to our account, the more eyeballs are going to be looking at it. Plus, the ads will play. Unfortunately, we have no choice but to let the ads play when our programs come on. So when the ads are seen by you, that accrues to our revenue. That helps us, to some extent, to keep this boat afloat. So kindly tell your friends. Also include, share these links with other people with similar interests, and we will do our best to keep you updated. And we will always strive to give you factual, accurate, unbiased news. So, Professor RV, I'm sorry to take your time to go off on a tangent. We are back on our topic today. So, please continue.
Yeah, it's not actually a tangent, it is very much a part of the axis which is required. Anyhow, I think three major developments have taken place which we should recognize, and according to me, these are not unrelated. One is the UNHRC resolution regarding the Kashmir, particularly the role of India and other thing. And the Human Rights Commission of UN has got countries like Saudi Arabia, Pakistan, and others sitting and making judgment about countries like India. That itself is a very funny thing. And United Nations, I think we have earlier also mentioned, has lost much of its importance and relevance. Not many take it seriously, and it is more considered as a talking club or something. As I earlier also told, a lot of school children in New York can benefit out of that by coming to the UN and looking at all the flags and trying to see this is the flag of Serbia, this is the flag of Yugoslavia, another thing, right?
Sir,
Yeah.
for even that, Uncle Google is there, sir. Why do they need to go all the way to the UN building?
No, because still some of the schools have this concept of picnic and taking them out and other thing, right? Anyhow, so this is the very interesting thing. Second is in Geneva, there was a United Nations human rights subgroup, always meets actually. And from India, these quote unquote activists, I never understood who are actually the activists. Some claim to be activists, some are journalists, some are thinkers, some are socially conscious. All these are very interchangeably used, according to me. So some of the activists, women activists, took the Dalit women who went and told in Geneva that Dalit women are the most threatened and unprotected and other thing in India. There was a huge hue and cry made about it, and it was insisted that the UN should take up this issue. And already, I think you know about it in UK Parliament. There is a thing pending about the Dalit. There are in UK the Dalits are telling that they are discriminated against. Formerly, all these groups used to be broadly categorized as South Asians. Everybody from Pakistan terrorists to the Indian diaspora, all are South Asian. Particularly if somebody wins a major, say, sports event or chess or something, he becomes a South Asian. But when somebody indulges in terrorism and other thing, immediately he becomes a South Asian, so that there is a sort of everybody can share the that we are all actually may most of the terrorists there are from of Pakistani origin, particularly from this part of the world. Anyhow, so United Nations had a resolution on Kashmir, another one by the women from India, and they were adequately represented by the activist lawyers from India, Karunanandi and Nandi and a couple of other people who are, what you may loosely call the usual suspects. The third is much more amusing, I would say. This Thomson and Reuters conducted what is called a perception survey, whatever it means. Perception. It's not a poll or anything. It's not a regular, thing. But perception survey. Who are the participants in the survey? NGOs from India and journalists and again quote unquote activists and thinkers. All, of course, I'm sure, Delhi based. They would have met some couple of people in IAC, couple of people in, why? What is the thing?
There are two places in Delhi, sir. IIC, India International Center, and Foreign Editors Guild Club. They can go there, listen to, in an echo chamber, they can listen to whatever they want to,
Yeah.
and then go back and write about it.
And very interesting, there was a television discussion by Maria Shakil in CNN IBN about this survey, quote unquote. It's not a survey or anything. It's just asking a couple of people, what do you feel about India? And they all told, it appears according to this, most unsafe for women. And the normally pro-communist paper, the Hindu from Chennai, that paper says it's a poll. It's not a poll. It's a perception survey in which a couple of people have been asked, what do you feel about? It's something very fascinating. Within, first of all, they have not given how many people they have contacted and what is the nature of the questionnaire and other thing. And they have put India to be more risky than Afghanistan, Pakistan, Somalia, Nigeria, and other places. Unbelievable, actually. And within, matter of hours of this survey getting released, Rahul Gandhi attacks government, telling that, look, the global agencies are, yeah.
Before Rahul Gandhi attacks the government, perhaps he can explain what happened to Miss Sukanya Devi.
No, that's another. The point I want to stress is these are interlinked. Immediately, this is taken. And then it is told that 49 months of emergency we have faced based on this survey and other things. I'm puzzled actually because last 49 months or whatever, the 4 years plus, so many polls have taken place in which Congress itself has participated and also won in many places. And I do not know how they can classify it as emergency period of 49 months. But the more important point is the common linkages between these things. The point is, it's a closed loop. How it gets done is simple. Certain activist, quote, experts, quote, journalists from India, they raise a hue and cry about some, India is a very, everybody knows it's a 1.2 billion, 130, more than that actually, 130 crores of people. Here and there will always be a crime situation, But there are, there is one channel called Mirror Now, whose only focus is crime. Every day morning, I think it unleashes its reporters to all parts of India to find out whether any woman have been molested. Attempt to molest was there. Attempt to murder was there. Murder actually took place and all that. This is what you may loosely call the nature of the channel. It's owned by Times of India actually. It's it's what you may loosely call good cop, bad cop. This is one channel which is a supposedly anti-government, right? And the channel editor, or she says she doesn't care about TRP. There is one Fai D'Souza or something, and she stands in the center of Bombay and shouts that I am not going to leave, Bombay at the mercy of politicians and other things. And at her own mercy only Bombay will thrive. So there are channels like this, and there are evening discussions, which creates a situation where there is a huge amount of murder and rape is taking place. So what happened is, this is reinforced in terms of articles in New York Times and Washington Post. For instance, Barka Dutt is one of the regular contributors to Washington Post. She will immediately shoot out the article. Yeah.
Sir, I need to come in here because Madam Barkadat might want to know that her previous employer, NDTV, has just got themselves into even more of a mess. After the pressure that PGurus brought on SEBI, very thankfully, SEBI has acted on it, and they have done some fairly drastic recommendations. And today's, we have a story about it in today's PGurus, and I'd like readers to read that. And I think the day is not far away before NDTV closes for good. And I've been saying this for a long time. NDTV has committed so many violations in terms of infractions of law, money laundering, stock evasion, you name it, they have stock manipulation, tax evasion, you name it, they have done it. And they have been, found guilty by the government, yet they seem to be able to figure out somewhere, some court where they seem to be able to convince a judge that there is something not quite right about whatever has happened from the government, and they just seem to be able to delay the inevitable. I don't know how long this is going to last, but I think the Ministry of Information and Broadcasting, which has a lot of powers, can actually shut this channel down today. Sir, please go back.
Yeah, they can, but I will tell you one thing. You may recollect, quite a number of months before, there is a move to have it shut down for 1 day. Just 1 day, actually, but they could not succeed, because I wish to, I have my contrarian view on this. Significant portion of the government actually loves NDTV. They like NDTV, and because of the reason they go there, give exclusives and other things. And the more money laundering they do, the more the tax evasion they do, the more the harassment they do, the more the government loves them. Actually, this government is on a, what you will loosely call a the death wish type of a thing. And if you criticize the government, if you attack the government gives you possibly Padma Shri or Padma Bhushan or something. It has, I think it doesn't have the ability to discriminate who are with the government or who are against the government, right? It has reached that twilight zone, I think, right?
Well, sir, I have to tell you this. We did complain very loudly about the fact that BJP ministers continue to go and frequent NDTV when their own departments have found them guilty of several infractions. And after raising a hue and cry, finally they have stopped doing that. And I think for the last 3-4 months, I have not seen a single BJP minister go there. However, it usually happens around election time or something. Somehow they feel compelled to go to NDTV to say something there, which I find it highly questionable. Maybe they can let their BJP spokespersons go, but I don't think the minister who's representing the government should be going and giving NDTV any kind of legitimacy. This is just my point of view, sir.
Okay, that's let's wait and hope for the best in the context of the what you are telling about the SEBI, getting into that. And SEBI is very interesting organization. This high frequency trading, 4 years have passed. Now they are slightly, sort of, I won't say they have woken up. They are, telling that something should be, some action should be initiated, and we are at it and other thing. See, whenever some regulatory body says we are at it, I am highly amused. And sometimes government also says we are closely monitoring the situation. Closely monitoring, I never understood what exactly it means. It's like the chief of the police always coming and telling law and order situation is stable, whatever stable means. So these are some of the standard phrases which are being used. Let's only hope that in high frequency trading, as well as in NDTV, as well as in ICICI Bank, the regulator. As I say, in India we have so many regulators. Regulator for telephone exchange, the cell phones, regulator for stock market, regulator for pension fund, regulator for insurance. Any number of regulators are there, but only one regulator I have seen working is my home, this ceiling fan regulator. So far, it seems to be functioning reasonably okay. But this because all the regulators have been emasculated and made into as part of the political. So this looping we were talking about. So she will write an article in Washington Post how the Indian women are in real danger. So what happened? The Washington Post in turn has got its own clientele or its own thing. It will recirculate it, and this Thomson and Reuters and other thing conduct what you call the perception survey and then publishes it, and immediately Congress gets into the action to tell that the entire women in India are unsafe. The way the whole thing is discussed yesterday and today, so it looks as if anywhere in India any woman who goes out is in deep trouble. This is actually, I would say, extraordinary amount of violence and propaganda of the worst order, damaging our own society and system. So the issue is much more complicated. This is not just projecting a wrong image of India, but it is brought back again into India. This is first to create a situation here where all our, what one can call the experts and other thing, Shekhar Gupta, Barkadat, and Veer Sangvi, Maria Shakil, so many of them discuss about the threat to Indian women. Then it is taken abroad and then it is brought back here again. If you see all the regional channels, they are reporting about this Thomson and Reuters as if it's a major survey done, and it's a laughing matter that India is rated below the what you may loosely call Syria or Somalia and Pakistan and other things. The point is there is a huge amount of propaganda which is getting started. There is a massive amount of funds are available for this propaganda. That is the second point which we should remember. So before 2019, I think there will be a significant effort to increase the level of propaganda and then impose sanctions on India on 3 counts. One is the oppression of the Dalits who are not. You see, because today India is reasonably performing well on the economic front in terms of growth rate and other things compared to many other countries in Europe and other parts of the world. We are even assuming we are clocking 6.5 or 6.7%. That's a very, very significantly respectable growth rate actually. So we are doing fairly well on the economic front. We are also emerging as a major soft power in the world in terms of various activities. So areas which the global forces, particularly the forces of church, the forces accompanying the left liberal lobby, all of them will find is to castigate India on this front of treatment of Dalit, treatment of women, and treatment of all the other minorities. For instance, a simple thing, I will tell you how it becomes the closed loop. In Lucknow, the couple, actually, both of them are Muslim, but it is projected as interfaith couple, first of all. That itself is a very, very interesting thing. So, second is, not only it's projected in that fashion, the person concerned, that lady concerned, gave a wrong address and her surnames were different in different document. This was asked by the passport officer, and this was immediately made into a issue of oppression. And then she told, "I will see to it that you are shifted." That time our foreign minister was in Africa, and that officer was transferred the same day, and she was issued the passport, and this became a very big issue. 3 major lies were propagated in all the major media. One, they are interfaith couple, which they were not. Second is, she was not given the appropriate passport immediately because she is a interfaith marriage, which is also not true. Simply ask some questions about having different addresses and different names. This is something very, very interesting which has taken place. Now, what has happened is this was immediately carried in the international news things. How the interfaith couples are attacked in India, and they are denied their basic rights. Same thing happens about the so-called what one can call cow protectors, as it is named in the media. Somewhere some cows are smuggled, which is very common actually. Huge amount of cows are smuggled from Tamil Nadu and other adjacent areas to Kerala every day. Huge amount of cows are smuggled to Bangladesh from West Bengal. This is not something which has started yesterday or a day before yesterday. Now what is happening is quite a number of the groups are who are protecting the cows. They are trying to resist this. So in the process, some skirmishes take place. It's purely they should report to the cops and other thing. It's a very valid point. But this one is completely turned into anti because a large number of people who are smuggling cows are belonging to the Islam faith. And so it is converted into that as anti-Islam and anti-Muslim. And then it is spread all over the world. So there are three major areas of attack which is expected on Indian image. To stop this, and those people are immediately categorized. This whole thing is immediately categorized as being anti-Muslims and anti-Islam. This is actually purely a local issue in terms of but that has been made into an all India. See, this is another thing. Most of the channels in Europe and US also won't report so much about small crimes in some in small states, Louisiana or Kentucky or North Dakota. If somebody is attacked, I don't think it will come in the mainline channel in USA unless it's of very huge magnitude or something. Here, what is happening in India? Very small minor events in certain states like UP, Rajasthan, Madhya Pradesh, which are BJP ruled, they come into the national news media as if the whole country is in flames. So there are three convergences in terms of damaging the image of India. One is India is anti-woman, which is blatantly untrue, because all the three Hindu goddesses which give you benefits are women actually. Lakshmi gives you wealth, Saraswati gives you education, and this Parvati gives you power. Durga gives you power. But so anti-woman India is, anti-Dalit India is, and anti-Muslim India is. This is what is the story getting built up, or this is what is the discourse getting built up. And I won't be surprised by the end of the year or beginning of next year, enough pressure is built to have sanctions on India, both by UN, UK, and USA. There is a peculiar type of alliance between the right evangelical groups and the left liberals in this. Left liberals have always been sold out, particularly in India, because you see, in India, if you look at it, who goes to journalism and other thing? Unless you are very weak in mathematics, which they are, right? Otherwise, most of the fellows go into engineering. Has become a standard degree in India today. In my time, it used to be BSc or BA or something. Now it has become engineering. So you go into, so first of all, you are not very good at mathematics. In order to substitute that, we have music, particularly the Carnatic music, as well as the Rangoli. These two are very major sources of substitution of mathematics actually, where Carnatic music you can't excel unless you understand the intricacies of mathematics, in terms of its aroganam, avroganam, as well as in terms of matras. Similarly, Rangoli, unless you are extremely good in geometry, you cannot do anything about it. But you will find a very interesting lot of these nitwits who are neither good in mathematics nor can comprehend music nor involved in Rangoli nor any other productive activity. They all go into journalism, and many of these journalists are all trained by these communist left liberal schools. Unfortunately, we don't have a proper right wing school at all in journalism spread over the country. For that matter, we don't even have a proper right wing media or print or in visual. Everything, almost all of them, is left liberal controlled. This is another very interesting thing actually. If you want to communicate today, for instance, I was told, I think by I think you were mentioning it. The Twitter, doesn't send the messages to all my followers. It has an algorithm to sort of
Filter it out.
censor it.
Filter it out.
And by and large, Twitter is more perceived to be left liberal supporters and not the right wing. And Google News, if you open in India, it's all, sort of left liberal magazine. We have huge number of them started also. You have Wire, you have this Quint, and you have this Print. Any number of Scroll, any number of these left liberal things have come over in the last few years. So what has happened is significant number of these journalists who are, some of them at least are gundas actually. They are not journalists actually, but they are called also journalists. So if you touch them, if they do the pickpocket, for instance, if police goes and arrest them, immediately there will be a hue and cry. Journalists are arrested. It will never come as pickpocket is arrested. So there is a huge amount of issue of dealing with these journalists now. They have all become activists. So they feed this significantly this anti-woman, anti-Dalit, anti-Muslim image of the country. These three, and anti-Muslim mean the Saudi Arabia had a lot of Middle East countries will be enraged and funding the activity. Anti-women, of course, all over the world there is huge amount of these left liberal gangs and groups and other things will be. Anti-Dalit, of course, is something the oppressed and the suppressed are being attacked. In spite of the fact, the Bombay High Court has clearly enunciated, don't use the word Dalit, use the word scheduled caste, because Dalit is a very phony entity created actually by the church. There is nothing called Dalit actually, some 30, 40 years before. In spite of that fact, most of these media, print as well as written channels like the News Minute, the in Tamil, the Vikatan, the Kumudam, and the Pudiya Talamurai. There are a lot of channels are there. Pudiya Talamurai. Then you have this news in Tamil. Most of these channels use the word Dalit, including English channels. So this is something very, very interesting. So the convergence of these three is going to be the major issue for India. And I don't think our government is even 20% aware of what is happening. 16% is the threshold limit for most of the things, according to me. That's what Chanakya told. 1/6 should be the taxes by the government, not more than that. And Bernard Lewis, one of the greatest thinkers in France, in Europe, he mentioned about whenever the Islamic population increases more than 1/6, then there is a issue of Sharia coming into existence. They would like to have Sharia in the thing. So the 1/6 rule is something which you should remember, and that is going to be very critical, along with the 33 and 1/3. That is the 33 and 1/3 political parties are combining together. 33 parties and 1/3 maybe here and there roaming around. So I think the 2019 poll is not going to be an average easy one. Global forces are extremely active now, and they would see to it that the old family type of a rule comes into being, which is very easy to manage and do business with actually. For instance, many of the senior journalists, you may be surprised, like what we were mentioning, all these people were deciding about cabinet ministers in the earlier regimes actually. They used to go and tell this cabinet minister will be good, appoint him as all that is now stopped. Cabinet ministers are not appointed by the journalist anymore. They are appointed by the prime minister. And many of them are not interested in becoming cabinet minister because there is no mullah. There is no way in which you can make any money anymore. You have to work as a cabinet minister, which is not our cup of tea, or rather coffee, as you would say. So this is, but extremely difficult times are ahead. And in case, as many of the the right-wing people are telling, if by October, November, this Ram temple is coming up, and that is going to create much, much more consternation and concern and worries and other things. So globally, we are at a very, very challenging time, and enough amount of propaganda will be unleashed against India on these three counts, as I told you, is what you may loosely call three pillars of damaging our image. And unless we are alert, unfortunately, there are no right-wing channels or right-wing magazines or to put issues in perspective. We don't have any appropriate amount of what one can call routes or pathways, except of course PGurus, you would say, right? That requires to have huge amount of following and subscription and other thing, which will take a very long time. For instance, let me tell you a very simple thing. Among the print newspapers, Hindu is known to be pro left or
Sir,
communist.
sir, 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 let's call them by what they really want to be called. Mount Road Mahanaxal.
No, no, that all gone. This whole thing is gone now. There is no Mount Road. There is no Maoist. They are simple pro-communist. That's all, and or Naxalite you can even call. Then you have two major newspapers from the upcountry, Times of India and Hindustan Time. Hindustan Time is so obsessed with the Taimur, the son of that Saif Ali Khan, and I think they have purchased the paper. I think. Then the Times of India is obsessed with this Priyanka Chopra. I think she has got enough stake in this. Neither of them is very interested in anything. They are spin and skin. Skin is more nowadays compared to spin. Spin and skin. And the Telegraph is known to be, Sarkar is very well known, Avik Sarkar, to be a Congress. It's a, if Congress asks him to bend, he will do Sashrang Namaskar actually. So that is the type of a paper. It is a crazy paper. So we have a peculiar situation where large number of these print media papers are all under various type of spells. There, none of them is interested about the image of India or anything like that. Yeah.
Sir, I'd like to add to the viewers that there is a newspaper called the Sunday Guardian, which comes
Correct.
only once a week on Sundays.
Yeah.
I don't know if it comes in all the cities, but what I have read, I've read it in, I think, Delhi, and I think I may have also read it in Bombay. The Sunday Guardian is very spot on about the issues, and they usually have a weekly coverage because they only come once a week. And if it happens to be in your city, I would like the readers to, give it a spin, or at least go to their website, read their articles, because I think they are trying to describe the right wing narrative. Maybe they are not right wing, but they are right of center. Let me put it that way.
But these are, what I would call, few and far between. You have something like Swaraj magazine, then Op India, but these are what I would say. These are very small drops in a huge ocean in terms of the coverage, in terms of the spread, in terms of this nothing. DNA, for instance, to some extent presents some middle type of a news. The Vion in TV presents some sort of a balance, but they are, I would say, they are not really the dominant thing in discourse. The discourse is controlled by the left liberals and communists and various other assorted groups actually. And in Tamil, for instance, channel, one of the major, the medical college baron, education baron, he controls one channel, Pudhiya Thalaimurai. And one of the sand smugglers, known for it, well known, he has started a channel on his own. So everyone has got a channel. There are no conflict of interest. There are only interest. There are no conflicts in our system. But the threat is going to be a very big one, unless and otherwise from today, it's already late. We strategize appropriately how to meet the threat, which is coming from the direction for oppression of Dalit, oppression of women, and oppression of uh, Muslims. Unless and until we evolve the appropriate strategy, I think it is going to be an extremely difficult situation for 2019. The image, damaging the image of India, many would not mind at all, as long as that brings them some political plus point. Create a sphere psychosis among people, so that slowly they would think, oh, better to go back to the old method of doing things. That's at least some sort of a stable equilibrium is there, and this is what I think the Delhi groups are planning or working on it seriously. Thank you.
So thank you, Professor RV. I think Prime Minister Modi has his work cut out. He needs to really address this issue. Although I personally believe that BJP is as secular as any other party in the country. In fact, they have been more than accommodating. There's not been a single thing where you can hang it on this government or the non-governance on this government's part. If anything, it has been with some other local parties and regional parties that have exhibited this. But be that as it may, perceptions are important. And in fact, in India, I've said this thing before also. Perception seems to be overruling truth, and PGurus is always committed to the truth. Thank you, viewers. And for those of you who would like to just read, please click on allow notifications whenever you visit our site, and then you will get the posts as and when they are published. So you don't have to go visit the site. This will also help us grow our reader base. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Professor RV.
Thank you. Thanks a lot.